Hi viewers, hope you had a lovely day. It's your girl Fena on Trends. Now, welcome back to my channel. And on today's segment, I want to touch base on motherhood, which I believe maybe a couple of us are already into it. And the main thing on motherhood is our nannies. So, what about our nannies? I trust that when I bring in such a topic, lots and lots of you would maybe want to think further of who nannies are. And what I want to talk specifically again is their role and duty in our lives. So first and foremost, I would want to get a definition of who a nanny is. Now, according to me, a nanny is somebody who comes into my life, takes up some tasks which I'm supposed to do as a mother or as a wife, so that maybe things can fall in place. So, personally, I would love to say a nanny is a very important person in my life because she or he takes up duties in my house, for instance, like washing dishes, cleaning up the house, taking care of my kid. This is a nanny stroke, I would say a day bag, of which a day bag is that person who comes in and goes out after doing duties assigned by me in my house. So I don't know, most of you, what particular persons you've employed in your houses. And first and foremost, let's get to why you're hiring a nanny. The reason as to why you're hiring a nanny is what will give you the best tip on how to handle that particular nanny. So, this is somebody who comes to replace your time in your house. So you should not be like, boom, I got a house help, or rather a nanny, so I leave everything that I'm supposed to do in my house. Definitely, as an individual, you also have to take up some tasks which you need to handle in your house, or else if you leave everything to this nanny, most definitely it will end up blowing up and you'll start complaining that my nanny is not working up to task, my nanny is not that competent, and you'll end up not being on the same page most of the time. According to the many years I've had nannies, or rather day bugs in my life, I've had to learn much about them also. So you have to have a very strong question as to why you're having this nanny or day bug in your house. Remember, this is a person who has also replaced many things that you're supposed to do in your house. So he or she has given you a chance to go and work out on other things, which maybe will be more influential in your life's being. So next to our question, we also need to have very important tips on how to manage our nannies. That is the main thing as to why I'm saying this is because you see there are those good nannies who have a worksheet on a day-to-day basis on what they're supposed to be taking care of, rather covering before the day ends. There's that one who will come to you like, yo, the clothes are well ironed, rather pressed. I've done my laundry. I've done my cleaning of the living room. I've maybe taken care of the lawn, and now it's taking care of the babies. So you as an individual, you really need to know exactly which one comes first to your list. Or else, if you're also not very keen about that, you'll end up screaming most of the time, like yelling all the time, saying like, this person doesn't do this person doesn't do that. And by the end of the day, remember, they're also human. They'll get overwhelmed because you cannot, this is a task you could not perform all by yourself. You invited them to come over to come and assist you in the task, and there they were. They sorted out a bit of your life's mess. Let me call it a mess because you really needed help. That's why others prefer calling them helpers. And thumbs up to my current nanny, or whoever nannies have passed through my hands, by the way, because if it were not for you, might be I would not be where I am, because I would be forced to stay back in the house and take care of duties all by myself. So thumbs up. How much patience as an individual must you have for you to stick with a nanny for quite enough time? Patience calls for many things. I would maybe say that. Remember, this is might be not your relative. This is not somebody you're really used to in your day-to-day life. This is somebody who is new to your household. These are people who come from also different backgrounds. They have different thoughts about different things. So you really have to be patient. And that's why it calls for nurturing a nanny to the best of ways that you as an individual would want them to be. Because if you don't also nurture them according to how you want them to be, most definitely they'll go on with their normal lives, whether they came from the rural area, you know, what do I say? Maybe this is somebody that, sorry, excuse me, they were maybe doing things in a different way, in a very different way. So maybe you've brought them to the suburbs and they're looking at everything as very new. Some of them might be even shocked, and you end up not directing them on what they're supposed to do. So that will be so mean. And before you start maybe pinpointing to them that this is wrong and that's wrong, you really have to have the patience, and also you really have to have a loving heart. Let me say a huge heart when it comes to loving them, because as I said, patience is what really, really, really matters in all this. Because remember, this somebody, when you leave out for the day, you've left them with your baby, and you trust that your baby is in the safest hands by the time you're coming back. So you should definitely give them a benefit of doubt and much love, so that they can as well push through the same to the people you're leaving them behind with. Or else without you there, they can end up doing anything that might not really be impressive, and definitely you'll end up talking much about it, and it won't be so pleasing, most definitely to you. You'll get angered, and that will be the end of you and the nanny. So roles, these roles that they play, you should just quickly dash through them, and then you ask yourself, does this really strike a balance? Because if maybe you give so many roles to this lady or gentleman, and it ends up like you cannot, you expect them to do everything on the list, and they're definitely not perfectionists. But I trust that anytime you want the nannies or daybugs to do the rightful things in life, you must also give them priorities. Like you must show them the priorities of what you need done. Or else if you expect them to be perfectionists, then most definitely things might end up not sounding so well. According to me, for the couple of years I've been able to be with daybugs, I'm one person who loves nurturing them. And considering they have been in my life for most of my days, I think I should do something extra about them. And that is by giving them consistent advice. Let them take it positively, and definitely it is something that I would be proud of, if maybe you took up an advice which later on in life would go well with you. It's also good to gift your nannies, rather, day bugs, so that maybe there are those who are looking at your life and they're like, oh, I wish I had a life like Fena, or I wish I had a life like my boss. And they end up living in haste of wanting to be like you. And if maybe you've not given them that chance, they can end up being those people who they're not supposed to be. I don't know if you understand what I mean, because they really want to be where you are, but they cannot. So love gifting them. If you have any of your clothes maybe that are not so fitting, and maybe you think they can fit them, gift to them. If you can buy them some nice things, it's not necessarily you're supposed to give them that which is already used. You can also buy them as a surprise gifts at times, and just make them feel loved and part of the family. That is the most essential thing about tips of being, or rather staying long with a nanny. Nannies don't like being probed. each and every minute. I don't know why that irritates them anyway, but I tend to think it's quite an irritant because they tend to feel you're becoming too bossy. I tend to think the fact that you stay with them in your household for quite some time, they expect like you're supposed to sink them into your lives, and thus you're not supposed to ask many questions to them. Rather, you're not supposed to be questioning them each and every time. But of which I also sometimes disagree with that, because the house belongs to you and you need to have answers to the questions which you ask. But then let's not make it a habit. Once we make it a habit, most definitely they get pissed off, and that's the start of issues. So on today's closure, all I want to tell us maybe is we should know the main reason as to why we're getting a nanny or a day bug, and number two, we should know the weight of what they are doing in our particular houses. Let's meet next time in the next episode as I expound more on why we should get nannies and how we should handle nannies so that we can last longer with them. Once again, subscribe, like, view, share. Cheers. Goodbye. See you next time.